Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lexi. If you are new here, I'll put my Instagram up above. So disclaimer, yes, I am standing in my kitchen. Well, I live in a studio apartment, so I guess technically I am always standing in my kitchen, but the lighting is bomb here, so this is where I'm gonna film this video. But I am coming at you guys with a good video today. So this is a sit down, informative video, and I think a lot of you guys are going to appreciate this one. So sit back, grab your coffee, grab your tea, grab your water, or, step on that treadmill if you're doing cardio. I know I have a lot of people who watch these while they're doing their cardio, and I always appreciate that. Nothing like some good YouTube cardio entertainment. But sit back and enjoy this video because today I'm gonna talk all about some of the worst fitness advice that is out there, because there is a lot of it. And I'm sure you guys have heard all of these crazy things at some point in time within your fitness journey. So today in this video, I'm going to lay out some of the worst pieces of fitness advice I've either seen or I've been given. Also talk a little bit about some common fads that you hear and you see out there, and also kind of give you guys not only my personal opinion on them, but also tie a little bit of science into it too. I don't always just want to give my personal opinion on everything, but I do want to put a little bit of that into it because I know some of you guys respect and value my personal opinion on things. So I'll try my best to give you guys that side of things, but also give you the science behind some things as well. So without further ado, let's get to my list of some of the worst fitness advice out there. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. And the first one I'm going to talk about, because I feel like this is a very hot topic. In fact, I get asked this as a coach all the time from my bikini competitors, my future bikini competitors, and I'm sure all of you guys have seen these floating around out there, and it's the topic of waist trainers. So I'm going to first preface by saying I have nothing against waist trainers. I'll put a picture up here of what they look like if anybody's watching and they're like, Lexi, what is a waist trainer? But do I think that some people give some really stupid advice when it comes to waist trainers? Absolutely. If you ever hear anybody say that you can wear a waist trainer and shrink your waist from wearing a waist trainer, that is complete BS. Like, I think that'd be awesome if that happened, but that's not what happens. You will see some competitors out there that swear by waist trainers and swear that it's snatched their waist, but it's like, what is it, like how scientifically, how is it shrinking your waist, right? Like, is it smushing your organs together? Now, I always like to preface and say, keep in mind that a lot of people, even top level athletes who promote these things and say, oh my God, this is what gave me my snatch waist, not my diet, not my cardio, not all that. It was just the waist trainer. A lot of times they are sponsored by these brands. So you always have to take what they say with a grain of salt if they are sponsored by a brand and they're saying something along the lines of, oh, this waist trainer like shrunk my waist. Now, here's where I think waist trainers can potentially be beneficial for a competitor. I think it can teach you, core awareness and can give you a little bit of extra support if you are somebody that naturally has bad posture. Now, if you're just somebody out there who wants to lose weight and you're like, oh, I want to lose belly fat, and you think that buying a waist trainer is going to help with that, probably is not, okay? So don't be like led in the dark with that. So that's number one. And I feel like I hear about waist trainers all the time. So that is my general take on them. Like I said, I'm not completely opposed to them as a competitor. If you want something that's gonna help with your posture or something that's gonna bring about better core awareness, but if you're somebody who's purchasing one thinking that it's gonna actually shrink your waist, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. So that is number one. Now, number two kind of goes along with that. And I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings by this one because I know there are a lot of people out there that use this product and they love it and they swear by it. But there are certain companies that sell, I guess what we'll call these like sweat creams, where you apply them to certain body parts or muscle groups or like your stomach or your glutes. And it's supposed to quote unquote like burn fat in that area. And yeah, I have a hard issue with that as well. I don't like when companies say that I'll rub this cream on you here and it'll burn away fat, right? Because all that it's doing is the cream may make you sweat a little bit more and sweat a little bit more in that area and lose water weight. It's not going to burn fat, right? I feel like a lot of people they don't want to admit that a lot of times burning fat just comes from plain old diet and exercise, right? These products are not magical. They're not gonna make you just drop fat. Now what they can do, like the creams that maybe you rub on your stomach or your glutes, hey, if you wanna buy that stuff, do it. but don't buy it thinking it's going to help you to burn fat. All it's going to do is it's probably going to heat up that specific body area or that body part or that area that you're applying it on. So like if I put it on my stomach, it's probably going to heat up that area and cause me to sweat more, which loses a little bit of water weight, but water weight and fat are completely two different things, right? So that's going to be kind of like worst fitness advice kind of fad number 2. Now number 3 is going to be, unfortunately, I see this all the time, and I'm sure you guys have heard it and seen it too, is just the concept of you have to cut out carbs or you have to eat protein only to not only lose fat, but also to get stage lean. If you are a competitor watching this and you think that the only way to get stage lean is by cutting out all of your carbs, cutting out all of your fat, and eating only protein, I'm sorry, because that is not the only way you can do things. Yes, there are a lot of people that take that approach out there, unfortunately. And does it work temporarily? Yes, but does it also usually cause a whole slew of issues later down the line? Absolutely. If you are cutting out dietary fat and carbs for too long of a period of time, that can really wreak havoc on your health, right? So if you're somebody who has ever fallen trap, or maybe you're even watching this and you think that the only way to lose fat, and furthermore, the only way to get stage lean is to completely cut out your carbs and your fat, I think that you need to reevaluate, your thought process and maybe find somebody who takes a different approach, because believe me, it is possible to get stage lean without cutting your carbs and your fat cold turkey. Now, can carbs and fat get a little bit lower in a prep in order to get stage lean? Absolutely. But there should never be a point where you are eating literally no carbs, no fat, and all protein. That is just, I'm sorry, it's stupid. It's not looking out for that person's long-term health, right? It may not be causing that person an issue in the moment, and it may get them stage lean, but they're probably going to have a whole slew of issues afterwards that they have to deal with, right? So it's just not worth it. So that is number 3 for like worst fitness advice, and kind of, I guess it's not really a fad, but like that is one of the worst pieces of fitness advice that I have heard. And unfortunately, I hear it all the time, not only from competitors, but just from the general public. I feel like everybody thinks you have to cut out carbs or you have to cut out fat. Specifically, I think a lot of people think, oh, you got to cut out carbs to lose body fat. And well, yeah, if you cut out carbs, you probably will lose weight, but are you going to be able to sustain that long term? Absolutely not, right? And it's one thing to lose the weight, but it's another thing to be able to sustain that, or to at least sustain your health afterwards as well. So that is number 3. Now, moving right along to number 4. So number 4 is going to kind of go along with some of the stuff I talked about, like the second product, is going to be fat burners. So I, as a coach, get a lot of questions from clients and just from people in general about fat burners, if they work, which ones I recommend, when you should start taking them. And I'm going to give you guys a big news flash and tell you, I personally, as an athlete, have never consistently used a fat burner. I also don't prescribe them to my clients. I don't put it on the list of supplements that I require my clients to take, but I don't require my clients to take any supplements. I always have a recommended list, but fat burners is never on there. And I do get asked it often, like, Lexi, what do you think about fat burners? Should I start taking one? Or, is it good to start taking one in prep? And I think that first off, I think a lot of times they think about fat burners before they're mastering their nutrition and their cardio. So first and foremost, mastering your macros and being in a calorie deficit and doing adequate cardio, those are going to be the main drivers of fat loss, right? So if you're not mastering those two things and you're concerned about a fat burner, like, you got to shift your priorities, right? The fat burner is not going to work if your diet is crap and you're not doing any cardio, right? Because those are two really big key variables in a fat loss phase that help to facilitate the fat loss phase. Now, do I think fat burners can be beneficial? Personally, I don't think that they provide a huge edge for anybody, but I think mentally, if you're in prep, you're doing everything you need to be doing with your macros, your cardio, and you want to take one, I don't see a problem with it. I do sometimes have some clients that will tell me they take it and they just feel a little weird when they take it, or just jittery. That's very common. Some fat burners just don't settle well with people, and if that's the case, I would just not take one. But the moral of the story is, you're not going to fat burn your diet or like use a fat burner. Your fat burner is not going to make up for a bad diet or for not doing cardio. A fat burner is not magic, and in my personal opinion, I've never used one because I don't ever feel like they provide that big of an edge where it would be beneficial to take one on a routine basis. So that is number 4. Okay, so now moving along to number 5. This is a big one, and I hear this all the time, and some of you guys watching may still kind of believe this or feel like it's true, but it's that old myth that eating past a certain amount of time, or eating past a certain time at night is going to cause fat gain, or that you can't eat past 7 p.m. or you can't eat past 8 p.m. or you can't eat carbs after dark. I'm sure we've all heard it, and I'm gonna explain my rationale behind it, because I do think that there's a little bit of validity, but I also feel like with the way that a lot of people hear it and present it, it's a little misleading. So no, you're not gonna inherently gain fat by eating food past dark, right? Like it's not like your body all of a sudden starts metabolizing food differently after a certain point of the day. No, it doesn't happen like that. However, this is one thing I tell my clients all the time, I tell my competitors all the time, is try not to eat so much. Like don't eat a huge meal right before you go to bed. And here's why. I think some people think that eating late at night causes weight gain or fat gain. It can cause weight gain, but weight gain is not always fat gain, right? Weight gain could be water weight, all that. But when you are eating a huge meal right before you go to bed, when you go to bed, think about it. You're laying still all night, you're not drinking any water, and movement and water help with digestion, right? So if you're going to bed with a full food or a full stomach of food, you're likely gonna digest whatever you ate super, super slowly, to the point where you probably are gonna wake up in the morning and still feel that food in your stomach, right? Therefore, you're probably gonna weigh in, weight's gonna be up. Did you gain fat? No, you're just still digesting and processing the food from the night before, right? Now, as a competitor, you want to be able to get the most valid weigh-ins each morning, right? So that's why, furthermore, with my own prep and also with my own clients and competitors, I generally recommend not eating a huge meal right before you go to bed. You can eat at night, but try to go to bed with a lighter stomach. Try not to go to bed with a ton of food in your stomach, because not that that's the end of the world, but you're probably gonna wake up still digesting that food and weighing in higher. But the old myth that carbs after dark like magically turns into fat, like that's not true. Yeah, if you eat a lot right before you go to bed, you may find that your weight is up in the morning because you're still digesting that food, but it's not going to inherently cause you to gain fat. It doesn't work like that. So my next kind of diet fad or worst piece of fitness advice is I'm going to talk a little bit about intermittent fasting. And again, this is one of those hot topics that you see on the cover of magazines, you hear on the radio about like fasting and so specifically I'm going to talk about intermittent fasting for a sec. And personally, do I like intermittent fasting? Do I prescribe intermittent fasting to any of my clients? No, I don't. What is intermittent fasting? Well, it's kind of loose, because here's the deal. Intermittent fasting is essentially you have an eating window that's short. So some people have an eating window of 6 hours. Some people have an eating window of 8 hours. Some people, there's a big loose window, right? Essentially it's limiting your eating to one small window. Why I don't like it is, personally, I prefer for all of my clients and my competitors to even their food out throughout the day for sustained energy, for sustained cognitive focus, and also for blood sugar levels, and also to maximize protein synthesis. That's going to be the best way to do things, is to space out your food evenly throughout the day. I find that what can happen with intermittent fasting is 2 things. One, if let's say you don't eat until 1 p.m. and your eating window is between 1 p.m. and 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. Well, you may find that when you wake up all the way up until 1 p.m., you were just dragging and you have no energy. So that's not that's not good, right? If you're waking up and you just feel like you can barely get anything done the first half of the day because you're dragging from having no food in your system. And also sometimes I find that intermittent fasting can almost be an excuse for some people to quote unquote have almost like a binging episode where they don't eat like almost all day, and then they have a very short window of time where they're eating all their food. It can almost be a little bit of a trigger for a binge, if that makes sense. So that's my take on intermittent fasting. There is nothing magical about it, unless your physician or your actual doctor is prescribing it to you for general health reasons. That's one thing, but as a physique athlete, as a competitor, as somebody who's just trying to lose body fat, it's not a magical thing. And I personally don't recommend it to people. I just think that there's more cons than pros. Okay, so we've got one more worst piece of fitness advice that I want to put out there. And this one is the no days off philosophy, or the piece of advice, or just the conception that you probably heard of, like, no days off. You gotta do something every day. You gotta move every day. You gotta train every day. And you know what? I'm here to tell you guys, that is going to get old really fast, and that is probably going to lead you to fatigue and burnout and lots of inflammation and just not enjoying the process anymore. There is a philosophy that I always preach to my clients. It's all about working smarter, and working smarter doesn't always equate to working harder. Especially if you are a physique athlete and you're going to step on stage, you have to realize the judges do not care what you did up until that point. They don't care if you worked out 6 days a week or 4 days a week. All they care about is how you look on that day. So the old kind of myth or piece of advice that maybe some of you guys have been given in the past about, like, move every day, or do cardio every day, or lift every day, or do some form of physical activity every day, well, that may be fine for a few weeks, but eventually that's going to catch up with you. You're probably going to feel extremely fatigued and run down. You're probably going to feel very inflamed because your body is not recovering, and it's just not preferential, especially if you're trying to build muscle. If you're not resting, your body is not gonna be able to put on muscle, because that's where muscle is put on, is when you're resting. So anyways, I'm going to wrap up this video here. I hope you guys kind of enjoyed this different style of video. I feel like it's been a little bit since I've done a sit-down video like this, but this was a topic that was recommended from one of you guys on my Instagram. So follow me on Instagram, and if there's ever anything you guys want to see content-wise on my channel, feel free to shoot me a DM. But give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this video, and please, please, please spread the word. Share this video if you know somebody that could resonate with it or who may need to see it, because I feel like a lot of these myths or pieces of, like, worst piece of fitness advice could definitely be spread around. Just trying to spread the good word, right? Keep people from making these mistakes, because there are still lots of people out there that make them. So anyways, I hope you guys have a great day wherever you are at in the world, and I will catch you guys in the next video.